Welcome to Life is Horror episode 15. This will be the top 15 horror movies of 2015, plus honorable mentions and dishonorable mentions. And I'll do two mini reviews for both 2023 films, The Boogeyman and The Offering, both supernatural horror films. So, first up, though, let's talk about a few upcoming horror films or possible upcoming horror films. Eli Roth's Thanksgiving slasher has officially been set for a November release this year. Hopefully that does happen because I'm really looking forward to it. I really am curious to see Eli Roth do a Thanksgiving slasher. We need another Thanksgiving slasher. We haven't had one in a long time. Not that I know of. Anybody know any other Thanksgiving slashers besides like Blood Rage and what's that shitty one? Like, that's really the only good one I can think of is Blood Rage. The rest are shitty and aren't worth your time. Like, Home Sweet Home, it's garbage. Sorry, it's not for me. But yeah, so we need another good, great Thanksgiving slasher, and hopefully we get it this November. So, all right, so the platform, the foreign Netflix movie from a couple years back, is getting a sequel that's now filming and it should be coming out to Netflix next year. I actually just watched the platform a few months ago and I really enjoyed it. It's a very cool concept, interesting and unique. The table of food, like, just somehow is like floating in the air and it's lowering down like 250 floors, just giving people a little bit of food. And like by the time it gets to the bottom, there's like no food at all. Um, so it's quite clear what the message of the film is. You don't have to dig too deep to find out what they're trying to tell you, but it was a fun concept, and I liked the comedic bits in it, like when they're threatening to shit and piss all over the food for the people below. Like if you don't do this, I'm gonna shit on your fucking mashed potatoes, and like it was just very funny. So gross, funny, scary. Like that would be a terrible situation to be in, but they like signed up for it. Some of them did, like, and they're going to be there for like 6 months, and every month they get transferred to like a different floor, and the lower the number, the better. You want to be as close to one as possible. So yeah, check it out. It's on Netflix. So last thing I want to talk about is Final Destination 6 Bloodlines might be the subtitle. I hope not, because anytime there's a horror sequel called Bloodlines, it's usually not good. Like Hellraiser Bloodlines, wasn't there like a Wrong Turn Bloodlines? Like, just enough with that title. Quit calling things Bloodlines. It's supposedly finally going to be shooting sometime this year. We've been hearing about this movie since Final Destination 5. They said in 2011 they're making 6 and 7 back to back. That never happened. And then they hired writers in 2019, and then they were let go a year or two later, and then they finally hired new writers that I'm not crazy about their previous work. So, and now they hired directors last fall, and then we heard nothing again for a few months, and now finally they're dropping this stupid title on us, Bloodlines, and there's like two different plot synopsises out there. Like, one's about paramedics and one's about a fire in a building in like 1960, and it's like none of them are actually like confirmed. So it's like, I don't know what the fuck it's gonna be about yet. But one thing the producer said is that there might be a possible, this was like a teaser for a kill scene. It might possibly have a tattoo parlor, like piercing joint, where someone is getting a tattoo or a piercing and things go wrong. So I'm curious to see what that kind of kill will turn out to be. If it happens. Possible. Not confirmed, but it's possible we might be getting that kind of kill. And they also said something about a revolving door kill, but that was when the other writers were involved and now they're gone. So is that kill going to happen still? I don't know. But I don't even know what it's going to be about exactly. They're saying that it's not going to be the same exact formula, but to what degree is it going to be different? Because if you go too different, is it even a Final Destination movie anymore? Because it's like if you take away premonitions and you take away gory accidents, then it's not a Final Destination movie. So what exactly are they changing? I'm a little worried about this film now. I was excited at first. Now the more I hear, I'm like, is it even a Final Destination movie, and is it gonna like ruin this franchise that to me is perfect? Like I like all 5 movies. There's not a single bad movie in my opinion. So I'm a little worried that this might ruin the streak. They drop a shitty part 6 on us, and it's like fuck. Like they shouldn't have made it. But so I'm half excited, half very worried that this might be a terrible movie. But I liked Freaks, the movie Freaks that these two directors did, back in 2018, I think, or 19, I think it was 2019, but whatever. Sci-fi movie, worth checking out. So yeah, that's all I gotta say today about horror news. So let's jump into my mini reviews. First up, we're gonna talk about The Boogeyman. This is based on a Stephen King short from like 1973. It's based on Stephen King, and it's from director Rob Savage, who directed the laptop horror film Host a couple years back. One of the first movies that came out right after COVID. And this is a PG-13 horror mystery, it says, but I don't remember there being a mystery. Saw it at the theaters over a month ago, and I was pretty lukewarm on this. It's like, in terms of like the filmmaking, above average, well made. In terms of being creative, scary, entertaining, original, no. It's paint by numbers. It's supernatural creature that looks a little familiar and just typical shit that you see in a lot of other creature features like this, and the skeptic characters, and you got this single parent and trying to raise these 2 kids on his own, and so just lots of family drama in it. And you got the older sister who has to be like the mom to the younger sister, and they seem to be underplaying a lot of the scenes. Like they should be more terrified, more scared, more panicked in certain scenes, and they're just kind of like whatever. Like what 6-year-old, I forget how old she is, but like what 6 to 8-year-old just sits on their bed as a fucking like monster runs underneath their bed, and like they hear the loud footsteps, something just went under her bed, and she's like, huh, oh, I think I'll go take a peek under my bed. And she like never screams, and she just casually like goes to her sister with a broken arm, like, I hurt myself. It's like after what just happened, she'd be running, screaming, pissing her pants, but like it's never actually realistic. Like their reactions are never realistic in this movie. There's a scene where they're doing the cliche, like wrap the string around the loose tooth, tie it to a doorknob, shut the door, yank the tooth out. They're trying to do that, and the door just slams on its own. She didn't touch it. There's not a draft. The window's not open. There's no wind. The door just slammed very violently on its own. And they just kind of look at it like, huh, that was weird. And then they just go to bed. Like, bullshit. Like, there's a lot of that in this movie. I couldn't believe it. And so, yeah, it's very PG-13, so don't expect blood or gore. And, like, there wasn't a lot of good scares in the movie. I felt like the first, like, 20 minutes or so was the best part of the movie. It just kind of went downhill after that. And like there's a hanging towards the beginning, there's some suicide, or it opens with a baby in a crib crying, and then you hear the baby die. So it's kind of dark, very dark for PG-13. Hearing like the bones of a like toddler snap, like you hear this baby die, and I don't think that's too much of a spoiler. It's the opening 2 minutes of the movie, so it opens with baby death, and then it's pretty mild after that. And the 2 daughters don't behave realistically. I already said that. Yada yada yada. The crazy lady with the shotgun and 1,000 candles was over the top. It makes no sense how she's even still alive. Shotguns don't kill it, so Sadie grabs a hockey stick to fight it. Like you got typical dumb like horror movie decisions, like the decisions that characters in real life wouldn't make. Like they're blasting this thing with a shotgun time and time again, gets back up, and so what does she do? She grabs a hockey stick. Like this might be effective. Like what the fuck are you thinking? And they establish that she has a phone like this that has a flashlight on it, very bright. She gets to her house. It's pitch black, and this is a monster that lives in the dark. So once if the lights are on, it goes away. Like lights out. So even that's been here, done that. How many movies are they gonna make like that? This is just another one. So she gets to her house, the power's out. All right, and she had her phone in the scene before, and she was on the phone with her dad, and she hears trouble on the other end, and the phone hangs up. Wouldn't you call the cops as you're running to your house, like to send help there that could get there before you? And then when you get in the house and the power's out, and you know you're facing this creature that lives in the dark and hates light, wouldn't you take your phone out that you just had a minute before and use the fucking flashlight once? She never tries it. So that just bugged me. And the end scene teases it's not over, like they always do. There's gonna be another movie. Maybe, if this makes enough money. Like, quit with these endings where it's like they think it's over. Oh, we defeated it with the power of fucking love or whatever. We weren't scared of it anymore. I forget how they defeat it, but they make it seem like at the very end that they probably didn't defeat it, and it's gonna continue to haunt them. And yeah, what else? Opens with Toddler dying. First act was my favorite section. No surprises or even good jump scares. This CG creature reminded me of A Quiet Place. The aliens in that. The acting is strong. It's well directed. It's fast paced. It's never really slow, boring. So it's got that going for it. And that's the only reason why I give this an above average rating. 6 out of 10. It's okay, but it's just too paint by numbers, generic, PG-13 horror film that just didn't do much for me. I appreciate the filmmaking here. It's well made, but I wasn't into the story that much. It was like it just needed better scares at least, and better character reactions and some better character decisions at the end, because it just kind of bugged me. So yeah, that's all I'll say about this movie. Boogeyman. The Offering. This one is directed by Oliver Park. Got a wide release in January. It's on Hulu, or at least it was. It's got a 5.2 on IMDb. And so this is not based on a book. This is the son of a Hasidic funeral director returns home with his pregnant wife in hopes of reconciling with his father. Little do they know that an ancient evil lurking inside a mysterious corpse has sinister plans for their unborn child. So this is a Jewish horror movie, kind of like The Visual from a couple years back. And let's see, where are my notes here? I enjoyed this one. I give it the same rating. This is a 6 out of 10, but I prefer this one over The Boogeyman. I'll just say that. But still, like, kind of a generic demon that requires children's sacrifices movie. It's set in a Jewish family's funeral home. It's paced well. Kind of reminded me of Autopsy of Jane Doe without any actual autopsy work shown. This one is rated R, but not a hard R. The Jewish angle made it a bit more interesting than a typical like Christian exorcism type ending. So that at least made it a little bit different. The acting was serviceable. The family drama stuff didn't bore me that much. So I wasn't, I was kind of into the family drama stuff more than the actual like horror stuff in the third act. The look of the demon was kind of cool, but not scary. There's a few jump scares and supernatural horror movie tropes, and one moment of a time loop, and lots of mind trickery and ghost girl visions. The fact that the British wife, who seems 2 feet taller than everyone else, is pregnant and just so happens to visit when a child-eating demon arrives seems like a plot convenience. Yeah, so it's like, what are the odds, Like, she arrives to this place the same day that this child-eating demon arrives, and she's like 9 months pregnant. So it's just like, it lined up perfectly. Like, the stars were aligned, and this was just fate. So it's a little convenient, but whatever. I was shocked that the ritual expert died so suddenly before it even began, having his neck snapped. Spoiler, but it was just like they set up like the Father Merrin character. He shows up and he's like, "This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this, and then we gotta do this to get rid of the demon." And then poof, he's dead. I was like, "Oh shit!" He didn't even get to start the ritual, and then now it's just up to these other guys who don't know as much to get rid of the demon. Not much blood at all, and zero gore. We never see the main couple very happy, and therefore I'm not too invested in their characters, who are just kind of there for the father's signature. They're there just to get the father's like inheritance, as like money, because they're broke. So like their reasons for being there don't make you like them that much, and we never see them as like a happy, loving couple. So it's like I wasn't really invested in the characters enough. So it's like by the end, I was like, if these two people die and a demon eats her baby, will it affect me that much? Will I be so heartbroken? Do I like these characters that much? Not really. Which makes the downbeat ending really not all that impactful, I wrote. So yeah, it's a downbeat ending if you like these characters, but I did not really care for them that much. So yeah, but it's above average. Like I said, a 6 out of 10. I don't strongly recommend either of these films. They're both just kind of meh, okay, nothing original, very kind of very generic. Both of them, been here, done that. I'm just not really that into this kind of horror movie, to be honest. Like the supernatural haunting stuff rarely works for me. Not saying there isn't any that I like. You know, I like The Conjuring. That's kind of a haunted house possession film, but it just all comes down to characters, you know, the dialogue, performances, and the style of the film, atmosphere, all that kind of stuff. And this film, the look of it, the way it played out, it was just very whatever. It was just fine. Just another forgettable demon, you know, child sacrifice kind of movie. You know, it's just whatever. So yeah, not a glowing review for either of these movies. So that's all I gotta say about those. So now let's jump into my top 15 favorite horror movies of 2015. Now, I've seen 82 movies as of this recording from 2015. And yeah, again, I gotta say this in every video because of what I'm doing is a little different than what other people might be doing. I'm doing wide release only. I'm not going off of what IMDb says or Letterboxd because they'll just list the year as whatever year it was at a festival. I don't count that. I'm going off of wide releases. So some of these movies, if you look them up, they'll say 2014. So I gotta say this in every video in case you're just watching this one and you haven't seen the other ones. So with that being said, 7 of the movies in my top 15 aren't listed as 2015, and 33 of the 82 movies on this list of the 82 movies I've seen are not from 2015 if you look them up, but technically they are. They just got a wide release in 2015. And 37 movies that were listed as 2015 had to be kicked off my list because they got a wide release later. So, with that bullshit out of the way, let's get into my top 15. And so many movies, I had quite a few. We're starting at 8 out of 10. And I had like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I had like 6 other movies that could have been here at this like 12 to 15 spot. It was really hard to make this list. Like a week ago, this list looked pretty different, and the week before, this list looked different. I just kept watching more movies, and things just kept getting bumped off. It pained me to leave a couple of these off, but I'll shout them out later. So for now, my number 15 is the underrated Christie. This is my kind of movie where, you know, it's kind of like The Strangers at a college, and she's just being terrorized by these 3 masked people, and then she cleverly gets them back. You know, like she turns the tables, she's smart. It's kind of like You're Next. I like movies like this where, you know, the main girl who's being tortured and terrorized, you know, turns the tables and she's smart. Like this is a badass final girl. And underrated movie. It doesn't have that high of a rating. I think it's maybe like a 5 out of 10 on IMDb, and it's criminally underrated and underseen. It's got Haley Bennett and Ashley Greene and Lucas Till. And yeah, so it's just about a girl at a college during Thanksgiving. This is a Thanksgiving horror movie. It's Thanksgiving, so everyone's left the college. It's just her and it's like a skeleton crew there. And she's just being terrorized by these assholes that want to kill Christians, and they think that she's a Christian or something. But yeah, it's just where it goes in the third act and how badass of a final girl she is what made this movie an 8 out of 10. And it's on Tubi. So yeah, watched this movie twice, and it's great both times. 86 minutes, pretty short, definitely worth checking out. So let's click here. Number 14, Unfriended. This is a pretty cool laptop horror movie and very fast paced. Bullies getting what they deserved. You know, you find out more and more dark secrets about these characters, like what they did exactly to this girl who committed suicide, so her spirits come back to haunt them. This is another movie that seems underrated. People just act like it's like just I don't know trash, like jump scares. Like I thought the kills in this were pretty cool. Isn't it? Is this PG-13? It might be rated R, but there's like a hand in the blender scene and like a curling iron down the throat. So there's some mean spirited kills in this, and I just like the way it was edited and put together. It doesn't really abuse the camera glitch too much, and the ending reveal for one of these characters was actually kind of surprising. And so I really enjoyed this movie. I prefer this one over Unfriended Dark Web, which took the more grounded in reality, like hackers were the bad guys in that one. It wasn't supernatural. It was a completely different kind of movie, but still told the same way through laptops and webcams, but just not as good from what I remember. Unfriended. Cooties just watched this movie for the first time a couple weeks ago. This is a zombie virus type film. I forget if I think it's virus. You know, there's a difference. You know, zombies, they were dead, they came back to life. Virus, it just makes you go crazy like this. So this is a virus movie. And it's a virus movie where it's only like affecting the kids. So you got like these crazy kids at a school attacking the teachers. Fun concept. Elijah Wood is the lead actor. It's super funny. It's kind of gory. Not as gory as I would have wanted, but there is some funny gags here, like a little girl's jump roping with intestines. There's like a tetherball thing. There's a severed head, and just hitting it around. So it's pretty funny. I really enjoy it. It's got Rainn Wilson in it also. It's a horror comedy virus movie, and kids die. So lots of fun. Check out Cooties. I think it was on Prime. I watched it on Prime. I think you have to rent it. All right, so Hidden. Just watched this one in the last week. This is from the guys who did Stranger Things. I read. I've never watched Stranger Things, by the way. I just don't. I don't watch TV shows. I'm all about watching movies, so that's why. But the Stranger Things creators, they directed this. The Duffel Brothers or whatever. This is a movie about a family. You know, husband, wife, and their daughter, played by the actress from Doctor Sleep and the Babysitter movies, and they're in a bomb shelter beginning to end, and the reveal, another movie with a great reveal that totally got me. I was like, oh my god, that's awesome. You know, they're stuck in there, and it's told non-linear, kind of jumps back and forth in time to like, you know, what happened, like why are they there, like, and you're not quite sure at first what kind of movie it is, like what's above them. Is it creatures, alien? Is it some kind of virus? Was it like the bomb went off? And then you slowly learn more and more, and where it goes, what these yellow eye, you know, monster looking people turn out to be, what's happening. It's quite shocking, and I really liked the third act where it went, and the performances here. Skarsgård, I forget which one, Alexander Skarsgård, and the actress from Mandy plays the wife, and it's just great performances. The dialogue, the chemistry between them, it seems like a real family, and just that stuff was terrific. This is another solid film, 8 out of 10. Check out Hidden on Prime. This one's on Prime also. Last Shift. This movie just got remade by the same director and writer of this movie, or maybe just director. He remade this movie this year. It's called Malum, and I don't know why he remade it. I haven't seen it yet, but I will eventually. But just check out this original because it's very eerie, and it's like a supernatural cult movie, all one location in a police station, and the phone calls that she's getting at the police station. Like there shouldn't be any calls at all. Um, but the phone keeps ringing and she's hearing like the voice of some woman in trouble who's like from the past or like already dead, and like it's just creepy. The look of the cult members, the things they do to their face, like it's on the poster, like the guy like carves the like I forget what it's called now, but the pentagram like on his face, and like and another great reveal. This one had another like shocking kind of downbeat ending. This reveal that just blew my mind. I'm like, holy fuck! I couldn't believe they went there. It was great. Check it out. I've seen this movie a couple of times. Another one that's kind of underrated. Like these movies don't have the highest ratings when you look them up. They're all like low fives and low on Rotten Tomatoes, and like not even a 3 point average on Letterboxd. And it's ridiculous. These movies deserve more attention. So Last Shift, that's my number 11. Number 10, Bone Tomahawk. This one is one of those movies where people argue, is it horror or is it just a Western, you know, cannibal film? It's got cannibals, right? Like they're eating these people, and like where it goes in the end is quite horrific. So I count it as horror. This movie has a great cast. You got Kurt Russell, Patrick Wilson, Matthew Fox, Richard Jenkins, and his character in this is hilarious. He's one of the highlights. It's a terrific dialogue, some disturbing, realistic-looking gore. This movie has the Terrifier death before Terrifier came out. Split down the middle, ripped in half. Awesome. Very nasty. So yeah, just check this movie out if you haven't seen it. Amazing film. Blood-Sucking Bastards is a vampire comedy. Very bloody, gory. This is one where vampires blow up when they die, so there's lots of vampires blowing up. It has the stoner dude from The Cabin in the Woods, and I think it has the actor from Cabin Fever, the blonde dude. And this one was just very funny. This is my kind of vampire movie. This would be like top 10 vampire movies in my opinion, because it's just my kind of vampire movie. And I think this has the guy from The Last of Us, the TV show that just came out. I forget his name's like Pedro something, Pascal. He's in this one as like their shitty boss, world's best boss, says the poster here. And work, it sucks the life out of you. This one's just so much fun beginning to end. Like lots of comedy and gore, and it's just very silly beginning to end. It's my kind of vampire film, so that's why I made my list. And What We Do in the Shadows is not going to be on my list. Spoiler, I prefer this one over What We Do in the Shadows. That one's very highly rated. It just missed my list, but if I had to pick one vampire movie from this year, I would pick Bloodsucking Bastards over What We Do in the Shadows. I just really enjoy this one. Next one is Del Toro's Crimson Peak, a ghostly haunted house film. She's getting visions from like the future, like warnings, like not to go to Crimson Peak. But then one day, when she becomes a woman, she gets married and moves to Crimson Peak. And the ghosts in this movie, the way they look, the CG was actually well done, very cool looking ghosts. The atmosphere, the cinematography, that's the best aspect of this film. And Del Toro is known for that. He has a very good visual eye. He has a very good eye for like visuals, and the cinematography in this movie is amazing and just atmospheric as hell. Love the locations, and it's a period piece. It's got Jessica Chastain. It's got the guy from the Marvel movies, Thor, his brother Loki. It's got that guy in it. Forget his name, but terrific film. 8 out of 10 also. We're still in the 8 out of 10s. 8 out of 10 for Spring. Phenomenal movie. It's a love story, but also a monster shape-shifting film. It takes a while to get to that, though, but the ride there I still very much enjoy because of the performances, the dialogue, the characters. I'm very invested in this main guy. It's a beautiful love story, and the way it ends is very romantic. And I loved it, just beginning to end. Seen it a couple of times. It's low budget indie films from the guys who did The Endless, Resolution, Something in the Dirt, and all their movies are very good. Synchronic, or that like time travel drug movie, like all their movies are worth checking out. So if you like spring, check out these two directors' other films. They're very great. They write and direct and star in almost all their movies. So what number is this? Where are we at? Number 7, Spring. Number 6, this is a thriller, but I'll count it as horror. The Gift, written and directed by, what's the actor's name? Joel Edgerton, who stars in this as the main antagonist. And you got also Rebecca Hall in it and Jason Bateman. So you got a terrific cast, great performances. And it's been a while since I've seen it, but I think I remember the ending having a dark reveal, and some cool twist towards the end, some great suspense, terrific film. The past will be your present. Late Phases. This is a werewolf film, in case you couldn't tell by that poster. And this is a terrific, awesome, underrated werewolf movie. Much better than American Werewolf in London. I said it. This movie has a awesome looking transformation sequence towards the end. It's got the actor from Charles the Revenge and Halloween 2. It's got Nick Demici, however you say his name, and Ethan Embry. And I love the concept of this movie. You got a werewolf film set at like a senior home, like a community of seniors, and they're being attacked by werewolves, and it's a mystery. It's one of those mystery werewolf movies. You don't know who the werewolf is, and the main character is blind, and he hears his neighbor get attacked at the beginning. He figures out that it's a werewolf, and he spends the next month trying to figure out who in his community is the werewolf. And that actor, his performance was great. They put makeup on him to make him look much older than he actually is, and just such a fun concept, like werewolves versus blind Vietnam War vet. It's terrific, and just check out that transformation sequence. Also, it's pretty awesome. And this is from the director. He's done some other great movies. He's like a Spanish director, Adrian Garcia Baglioni. I don't know how to say it. Sorry. But he did Here Comes the Devil and Cold Sweat and Scherzo Diabolico. So check out those movies. They're pretty good also. And so that's number 4. Number 3, love this movie. This is another one that's listed as a thriller, but it's basically a rape revenge movie where the guy gets revenge. I don't want to spoil too much, but as you can tell by the poster, it's about a guy who steps on a landmine and they're vacationing in a foreign country. I think it's Georgia. And, he's about to get married. This one guy's about to get married. And then his friend, who he knows is sleeping with his fiance, he gets his friend to step on a landmine and then tells him, like, he just leaves his fiance there. He breaks up with her. And he's like, help him get out of this. Here's a shovel. Dig a hole in the ground, and so that you can jump into it and hopefully not explode when you step off of the landmine. But they're like trying to figure out, like, how do we get you off, and how do we get you off of this landmine without killing you, and then, like, how do we get you help, because they're like stranded. And what ends up happening is this local dude, this foreigner dude, just walks by with his dog, the vicious, like, Rottweiler, I think, or some kind of like German Shepherd or something. I forget what it was, but he comes by. He's got a hunting rifle, and he takes advantage of them. He takes advantage of the situation, and it gets rapey. It gets disturbing, and then flashes forward and goes into revenge territory. And that's my kind of movie. I love revenge films. And the third act, the way it ends, it was a jaw-dropping ending, just such a shocking, like, downbeat. But I don't want to say too much, but just that ending, I just remember it literally made my jaw drop, and I just fucking loved it. And so yeah, Landmine goes click. Underrated, underseen. It's very underseen. more people need to check this out. It's got Spencer Locke from Zombieland 2. I think that was her, right? The blonde chick in that movie. And Sterling Knight. And this is from director Levan Bakia, who did that Sauna movie, 247 Degrees. Wasn't that good. I wouldn't recommend that movie. So yeah, number 3, Landmine Goes Click. Number 2, Krampus. This is the movie that the more I watch it, the more I like it. Because the first time, this is from the director of Trick or Treat, the anthology from 2009. And that movie to me is 10 out of 10. So I went into this with high hopes, high expectations. I wanted it to be like that movie, but this is PG-13, so that kind of hurt it for me. But I've seen it like 3 more times since, and I just appreciate this movie more and more now, to the point that I give it a 9 out of 10. We're in the 9 out of 10 range now. Landmine Goes Click was a 9 out of 10. This is a 9 out of 10 also. Atmospheric, gorgeous looking movie. The creatures in here, the creature designs, the animated sequence. I think it's weird that the grandma's speaking German the whole time. Even though she can speak English, she just chooses to speak German the whole time. I just thought that was weird, but there's some humor that didn't work, but there's quite a few that do work. And like the vulgar, un-PC aunt was a great character. You got Toni Collette. It's got a great cast. I like this movie more and more now, and I watch it every Halloween. I watch it every Halloween because it's the perfect Halloween movie. Of course, I meant to say Christmas. I don't know why Halloween was on my mind. Yeah, it's a great annual Christmas movie to watch. Check it out. And number 1 is, drum roll. Just joking. Number 2. I already lost count. Number 2 is Creep. This is a terrific found footage movie, very simplistic, just 2 guys with a camera at a cabin in the woods, like improvising. This is a movie that was like improvised. From what I read, there wasn't much like actual dialogue that was written. They just kind of like had an outline, like, all right, here's this scene, go. Like, just start talking. And it works. The dialogue, the performances by these 2. I think the actor who's holding the camera, that's actually the director also. And Mark Duplass, who plays the creep, fantastic playing the creep, and very unsettling in moments. Gets kind of dark and downbeat at the end, and it has an amazing sequel, Creep 2, that I also really like. I used to actually prefer Creep 2 over Creep 1 on first watch, but I've seen them again back to back, and now I actually prefer 1 over 2 because I think 1's a little bit more creepy than 2, where 2 is a little bit more goofy. It kind of increases the comedy a bit. And this one does have some silly moments for sure, but it's uncomfortable. Great tension between the characters and where it goes in the end. I just had a great time with this movie, and it's only 75 minutes long. It's very short. So yeah, number 2, Creep, could have easily been my number 1, but I gave my number 1 to Deathgasm, because this is like Evil Dead meets like Dead Alive, that kind of gore, like zombie type, like possession. It's like possession, but they look and behave like zombies. They're tearing people apart, ripping, eating them, and lots of gore, lots of humor. It's New Zealand humor, New Zealand actors, and the credits at the beginning, the animated sequence, like there's a lot of cool like animation in this, and the gore effects look pretty awesome, and it's goofy gore too, and like people getting their heads bashed in with dildos type of humor and gore. It's awesome. Just so awesome. Like, this is for gore lovers and metal lovers. I'm not a metal lover, but I don't mind the soundtrack in this movie. It doesn't hit you over the head too much with metal music throughout. But I quite enjoyed the metal music in this movie. The music that they're making in the movie, the music videos that they're making are quite comical too. And I like the characters, except for the character who's a dick. He's the the bully of the group. They kind of went a little too far with his asshole behavior, in my opinion. I wish they would have dialed that back, because I would have liked to have actually liked that character, but he's kind of too much of an asshole to like. And I don't feel like it was necessary to make him so much of an asshole. Like, he's the best friend of the main dude, and he does something that's so awful to him. And then by the end, they make up. But it's like, if it was me, there's no way I would have still been friends with that jackass after what he does. But yeah, if you're a gore lover, check this out. If you like horror comedies, if you like movies like Dead Alive, Evil Dead, this is like that with metal. So yeah, check out Deathgasm. And I got a review for this movie also. And I think I reviewed Creep and Krampus, and that's it. So yeah, love this movie. 9 out of 10. Awesome flick. And this guy directed also. He was supposed to do a Deathgasm 2 at some point, but that never actually happened, unfortunately. I guess he couldn't get like a studio to greenlight it. I don't know why, but this guy's only directed and wrote 2 films, Deathgasm and Guns Akimbo, the Daniel Radcliffe action comedy with Samara Weaving. That was one of my favorite non-horror movies of 2020. So check out that movie also. It's very silly, like this movie. So very much in the same vein, just not a horror film. So yeah, Guns Akimbo and Deathgasm. Check them out. 9 out of 10. Awesome film. So I guess before I leave officially, I've been talking long enough, but it wouldn't be right to not give you some honorable mentions. So get your pen or pencil out or your phone, type down these films because I recommend them. Check them out. The Editor, if you're a fan of Giallos, this is a love letter to those. It's a comedy, but it's got some great homages to the 70s Giallos. And We Are Still Here by director Ted Kagan, who just did Brooklyn 45. Check it out. And What We Do in the Shadows. Digging Up the Marrow, Adam Green's film. It's a mockumentary type of film. Wormwood. I like that movie. It was a zombie film. Great film. Girl House. This is a slasher set at like a porn, like it's what do you call those places? It's like the Playboy Mansion, you know, where you got all these people. They're cam girls, but a slasher villain, he gets pissed off at one of them, so he goes there, tracks down their location, and kills all these beautiful women in gruesome ways. So great slasher movie. Blood Punch. This has the actor from Deathgasm, and it's a like time loop movie. It's like Groundhog's Day. Very interesting and some cool twist in it. Circle, sci-fi movie, one location, very simplistic, very funny. This was on Netflix. Gravy, another horror comedy. Absolutely enjoyed it. It's about cannibals, and they all one location. Again, they trap all these fast food or restaurant workers at a restaurant and start to like kill them one by one and cook them and eat them. But it's done very silly. It's a comedy. Time Lapse. This is a sci-fi mystery horror thriller about a video camera that takes pictures 24 hours in the future. So they use this device to get rich, and they all 3 of them use it for their own different reasons. And then things go south, and friends start to turn on each other, and it gets very trippy, like confusing by the end. Like time travel movies like this are always confusing. They don't really make that much sense. Like, how is this even possible? Like, how could this, it's like the Back to the Future movies. It's like, in the Terminator, it's like, well, how can you, like, I don't want to get into it. It's just, they all have that problem. And this one has that problem too in the end, where it doesn't really make that much sense. But the ride there was fun enough for me to recommend it. The Visit, M. Night Shyamalan, really enjoyed that movie. One of his better horror films. And Freaks of Nature. This is an interesting movie. It's vampires, I think werewolves too at one point, and aliens and zombies all live together with humans. It's a cool, interesting concept. The voices, Ryan Reynolds, he speaks to his pets. His pets talk to him, but it's all in his mind, of course. And they're like his cat and dog are telling him to go out and kill people. Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse by Christopher Landon. Very over the top, silly zombie film. Suburban Gothic from the director of Excision. Not quite as good as Excision or his other film Trashfire, but still worth checking out. Funhouse Massacre. It's a slasher movie like the Funhouse, the Funhouse Massacre. And Savaged. This is a supernatural revenge movie, very underseen. Check it out. It's on YouTube. And then we got It Follows. I'm sure some of you were wondering, like, where the fuck is It Follows? It's a masterpiece. Where is it? I don't love this movie. I like it. I don't love it. I don't think it's great. I think it's good. I think people rate it. I think they give it extra points for its soundtrack, which is amazing, and its concept. But to me, I have some issues with the concept and where it goes and what happens in the third act. The third act really brought this movie down for me, but still worth recommending because it's a well shot and acted movie, and the soundtrack is awesome. Killers, I did a Patreon review for that one, so check out my review if you want to hear more about that. Goosebumps, we've all heard of that one, pretty good. Let Us Pray, The Hive, Cop Cars, starring Kevin Bacon, The Hallow, Almost Mercy, really like that one. It's a very underseen movie. Some people don't like it because they think it's like a pro school shooting movie. I don't see it as that. A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, black and white, artsy vampire film, unique, just kind of a slow burn. I wasn't that into it, so that's why it's so low. I Spit on Your Grave 3. I recommend it. I liked it. It's my favorite of the remakes and the sequels. It's my favorite of those three. I seem to be alone in that. And then we got The Final Girls. This is another popular movie from this year. I find this movie almost offensive. The fact that it's the fact that it's supposed to be like this love letter to slashers, and it gives you nothing that a slasher should give you. Like almost nothing. The mask of the killer sucks. The fucking like the homages are good, but then they tease you with nudity. They don't give you nudity. It's PG-13, and there's not a single kill on camera, and no one really dies. So there's no stakes. It's too lighthearted. It's just not for me. I get why some people love it, but to me, it needed gore. It needed to be rated R, and I heard that was the original plan from the writers, was that this was going to be rated R, and then the director of the studios got involved and they said, no, let's make it more about the mother and daughter, make it PG-13, take out the gore, take out the tits, and not even make it a slasher film. So that just ruined the movie for me. An interesting fact, this was written by the guy who starred in Halloween 3. He was Dan Chalice's son. I read that and that blew my mind. Dan Chalice's son in Halloween 3 wrote this movie. Secret Santa, The Green Inferno, Back Country, Killer Bear movie, He Never Died, Christmas Horror Story, Borderlands, Stung, I reviewed that one. Bound to Vengeance is another revenge rape movie. You don't see any rape though, but it's implied. Sinister 2, it's okay, it's nowhere near as good as the first one. Zombievers is for a certain group of people. If you like goofy ass films like this, it's free. If you don't like a movie, I mean, if that title turns you off, then it's not for you. But if you like the idea of zombie beavers, then check out Zombievers because it's quite funny. Lost After Dark. This one's like The Final Girls, but it actually has the gore and not the nudity, but it has the gore at least. It's set in the 80s. It's an homage to the 80s slashers. And Some Kind of Hate I thought was fine. Interesting concept, but the characters, the dialogue, I'm not going to recommend that one. It's on YouTube for free. So if you want to check it out, check it out. But I don't strongly recommend that. I did not like Headless. Let's get into my dishonorable mentions. I liked Found from the other year, but Headless, not for me. I just did not like this movie. I don't want to watch a guy stick a machete up a girl's privates, chop off her titty, suck on her bleeding nipples, and then chop off her legs, chop off her head, pluck out her eyeballs, and then skull fuck her when she's dead. That's what this movie is. It's just shock. It's just pure shock value, beginning to end. Hardly any story to it. Just in the villain, the backstory of the villain, so over the top and been here, done that. Like, oh, he had a single mom who hated him because she hated the husband, so she's taking her anger out on the kid. The older sister is literally pissing on him while he's in a cage. He spent most of his childhood in a cage, and then one day he finally decides, I've had enough of this. I'm gonna kill my mom and sister because they're fucking cunts. And then now he's a fucking killer and he's chopping women's heads off. hence why it's called Headless, and wears a skull mask and he's skull fucking people when they're dead, and it's just so not for me. Ugh. And believe it or not, this movie's made people's top 10s. So I know people like it. There's some people who like this movie. It's made top 10s. Not for me. Didn't like the Lazarus Effect. Not a fan of Tremors 5. Not a fan of Charlie's Farm. The Gallows, 13 Cameras, All Hallows Eve 2. Not a good sequel. I much prefer All Hallows Eve 1. Sharknado 3. I don't like the Sharknado films. But I will say 3 is probably the best one so far of the ones I've seen. Was not a fan of Pod and Toby Hooper's Djinn. Terrible movie. Bastard. Horrible. Human Centipede 3. Garbage. And Paranormal Activity, The Ghost Dimension, easily the worst in that franchise. It's terrible. Old 37, starring King Hodder and Bill Moseley as these killer brothers who pretend to be paramedics and pick up people and kill them. Terrible fucking film. And one of the worst of all, Eli Roth's Knock Knock. I fucking hated this movie. I hated it so much because it's one of those movies where the main character, who you're not quite sure, am I supposed to like this guy or hate him? Like, by the end, I fucking hate him because he's stupid. He's so fucking stupid. Poor Keanu had to be in this shitty movie before he became John Wick. And, like, I'm sure he's regretting the decision to make this movie now, but he produced it. It's so terrible. You got these two girls that seduce him. They practically rape him. Like, they basically force him to have sex with them. And then they punish him for having sex with them. But it's like you were hopping on his dick. And you were like, he's trying to kick you out the door. And then they like throw him in the bathroom. They're butt ass naked. They're all soapy. And they're like grabbing at his dick, trying to pull it out of his pants. Like they're sexually assaulting the man. And then, of course, he gives in eventually, has sex with him. And now they're torturing him. And he's being a fucking moron beginning to end. Every decision he makes is so stupid. And then other characters just conveniently show up to add to a body count or to just pad the runtime and do nothing smart. Like the one dude with the like inhaler shows up and they're playing monkey in the middle with his inhaler and he dies of like an asthma attack. Like it's just so stupid. Like he sees Keanu tied up in a chair. And what does he do? He just leaves him there. Like, I'll be right back. It's like it would take you 10 seconds to fucking unwrap him and free him. But no, I'm just going to leave you here. I'm going to leave and die, so now you're still stuck. Fuck this movie. I hate movies like this. I hate when writing is that terrible. It can really bring down a film. I don't care how well shot, how well acted, how great these women look naked. It's not going to boost my rating. Fuck this movie. The writing was that terrible. Easily the worst Eli Roth film I've seen so far. And he gets a lot of hate, and I've always wondered why until I watched this movie. It's that bad. It's so bad. Oh, Cabin Fever and Hostel are way better than this movie. And Green Inferno, much better than Knock Knock. Fuck Knock Knock. Terrible film. So there you go. That's my top 15. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. What did you think about the other two movies from this year that I talked about, The Offering and Boogeyman? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, I'll see you next time. I never know how to end these. I used to say auf Wiedersehen, but I don't say that no more. So I'll just say goodbye. I'll see you in episode 16 for the top 16 of 2016.